One of the major mistakes some people make is they don't have everything before they light the fire. This is where you want to start before you get a match out. You don't want to start a fire and then run around the woods trying to find fuel.
To build a successful fire, the first thing you need is something to get it going, and that's tinder. Then you need to build it up a little bit, and what you're going to build it up with is kindling wood. And finally, you're going to feed the fire with fuel wood. And fuel wood is the bigger stuff that is going to keep the fire going. First things first, what we need to do is gather a sufficient amount and the right kind of tinder.
Okay, what we're picking is tinder, and we want it about as big around as a pencil lead.
That's right, just about as big as a pencil lead, just like you see here in my hand.
You notice what I'm picking is stuff that snaps right off, not things that bend. If it bends, it's too wet and it's not going to burn. And just about anywhere where there's a deciduous forest, there's going to be plenty of these little pieces of pencil lead sized wood.
Don't get little short pieces, get at least as long as the span between your finger and your thumb.
And it's just a rule of thumb. We're not building a cathedral or a nuclear power plant. So if some are a little bigger, some are a little smaller, that's fine. A little longer, a little shorter, no big deal. So you get the general idea about how much and what type of tinder you want. Now we have enough tinder. You see that it fills the space between my hands. You see some of it's bigger, some of it's smaller. Doesn't really matter as long as it's bone dry, and this will be ready to light. Our next step is to find kindling wood. Kindling wood is roughly as big around as your thumb. A little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, doesn't matter. I like this length right here, from your elbow to the tip of your index finger. Just a rule of thumb, but that's about how long. Most people fail in building fires because they get little tiny things, little short pieces. Get a good healthy sized piece, okay? And all the kindling wood that you get, you should be able to break with your hands. We want to have roughly a double arm load of kindling, and this is what I call a double arm load right here. That's plenty. That'll provide enough to get the fire started. Fuel's so anywhere from this size to as big around as your wrist to 10 inches in diameter. It depends on what you want. This pile's a little skimpy. We're going to add some more to it until it reaches roughly my knee. The length, whatever you can carry. Doesn't really matter. Again, you're much better off getting stuff that you can break with your hands or by levering it with your foot than you are with having to use tools. So now we have enough fuel wood. It's kind of, it's right around knee level.
Now that we've collected everything, we're ready to light the fire. But only after we've collected everything. What we're going to do is first take the tinder and prop it up on a stick in the middle of the fire circle. Now, here I'm taking a strike anywhere match, lighting it, letting the match get good and lit by holding it upside down. And then the match is going to go right underneath that nice loose pile of tinder. If you got the right stuff, as you can see, it'll burn very readily. You can see that it's starting to catch pretty well. You can see the smoke. This is just one match. What I'm doing is I'm rolling it over a little bit onto the part that's already ignited so that the fire will be able to go right up through that whole pile. Now, as soon as that's going well enough, we're going to move on to putting some of the kindling on there. And we're not making a log cabin, we're not making a teepee, we're not making the Taj Mahal, we're just putting wood on the fire. Stacked nice and loosely, lots of smoke now, and pretty soon it'll flash over and it will really catch. Now you can pile as much of that kindling on here as you need to. You'll find, especially if your wood is a little damp, that the more you pile on, the drier it'll get as the heart of the fire grows. We had a pretty good dry day when we were making this, so we were able to get a fire going pretty easily. It can be a little more difficult. As the fire starts to build now, I'm going to keep adding kindling to it to build it up a little bit more. And then we're going to pile fuel wood on top. And here's what it looks like when you have the fuel wood on top. So it's really quite simple. Anybody can build a fire. Just remember what you need. Tinder to get the fire going. About as big around as a pencil lead. No shorter than the width between your finger and your thumb when you stretch your hand out. And you need to fill the circle that's made by your thumb and your fingers when you hold them together like I'm showing you here. The next thing is kindling, which should be about as big around as your thumb. This is going to help you build the fire up. It should be about as long as the distance between the crook of your arm and your outstretched fingers. And you need a double arm load. Don't skimp on kindling. You don't want to be running around just when you're getting your fire going trying to find fuel for it. And finally, the fuel wood. Fuel wood, get a pile about as high as your knee, and that's anything that's bigger around than the kindling wood that you gather. So if you stick to these simple rules, you should be able to light a fire pretty reliably every time with one match. Good luck, and be safe with your fires.